Welcome to this explainer. So picture your blood type card for a second. Maybe you're A positive, O negative, or B positive. We all kind of know our blood group, right? But here is the strangely fascinating part. Your blood group is way more than just a basic medical label for emergencies. Those little letters and symbols actually represent tiny, incredibly specific molecular differences right on the surface of your red blood cells. And as it turns out, those differences can totally influence how your blood interacts with the rest of your entire body.
So, what does your blood type actually say about you? Well, let's dive right into this intriguing question and uncover some of the hidden mechanisms and, honestly, biological mysteries tied to your specific blood group. We're going to look at how your blood type might subtly interact with blood clots, infections, and, even certain types of cancer. What does all this microscopic biology really mean for you? Let's find out.
All right, setting the stage. Beyond the blood transfusion, understanding the ABO system. To really get blood groups, we have to shrink down to a microscopic level and talk about antigens. These are tiny, tiny molecular markers found right on the surface of your red blood cells, and they act exactly like biological identification badges. Think of them as little name tags worn by your cells, basically telling your immune system, hey, I belong here. If your immune system spots an antigen badge it doesn't recognize, well, it produces antibodies to attack it. And that right there is exactly why mixing incompatible blood types during a transfusion is so incredibly dangerous.
Now, the ABO system is actually wonderfully simple when you break it down like this. If you carry the A antigen badge, boom, you're type A. Carry the B badge, you're type B. If you're walking around wearing both badges simultaneously, you're AB. And if your cells are completely bare, like minimalist, wearing neither A nor B antigens, you are type O. But as you'll see, these molecular badges do a whole lot more than just identify the cell. They're deeply connected to processes throughout your entire body. Moving right along to our next section, blood types and clots, the highway of your veins. So type O is often called the simplest pattern because, like we said, it lacks those A and B antigens. But that comes with biological trade-offs. People with type O blood actually tend to have lower levels of certain clotting-related proteins, specifically a rather unpronounceable one called the von Willebrand factor. Basically, this means a lower average tendency towards certain blood clots, but on the flip side, sometimes a slightly greater tendency to bleed. Conversely, the non-O blood groups, that's A, B, and AB, carry higher average levels of these sticky, clot-forming proteins. Okay, so how does that difference in sticky proteins translate to the real world? Imagine your blood vessel as a highway where traffic normally flows smoothly. If a clot blocks it, that's a huge problem. Well, because of those higher protein levels we just talked about, researchers have found that having a non-O blood type is associated with roughly twice the risk of venous thromboembolism compared to type O. 2 times. That is a statistically significant difference directly linked to your blood group. But hey, wait, don't misunderstand that statistic. If you have type A or AB blood, it absolutely does not mean you're destined to develop a blood clot. Not at all. Your blood type is just one tiny dial on a massive biological control panel. It gets totally drowned out by massive levers like your age, a recent surgery, pregnancy, immobility, or obesity. Those heavier risk factors, they matter much, much more. Your blood type is a fascinating piece of the puzzle, for sure, but it's definitely not a crystal ball.
Let's look wider. Next section, heart disease and infections, systemic connections.
Because non-O types have more of those clotting proteins, and we know too much clotting can contribute to heart issues, researchers naturally went looking for links. But a massive 2026 cohort study found only a borderline increase in coronary heart disease for the AB blood type and practically no clear association for A or B on their own. The crucial point here, folks, is that the science is highly, highly nuanced. Simply having type A blood absolutely does not equal a diagnosis of a heart disease. The human body is vastly more complicated than that. Strangely enough, though, your blood type can subtly shift your susceptibility to certain infections. You might be wondering, why? Well, because those molecular ID badges aren't just floating in your blood. They're actually scattered all throughout your body. They're lining your gut, your lungs, and other tissues. And some microscopic invaders literally use these markers like door handles to grab on, meaning people with non-O blood groups might have slightly different risks for certain infections compared to type O. But again, this doesn't make anyone invincible or guaranteed to get sick. Your immune system and your overall health are what really run the show. Which brings us to a really fascinating area, the cancer connection. Associations, not causation.
So, multiple studies have indeed found that blood type A has an increased risk of certain cancers, most consistently stomach and pancreas cancers, when compared with blood type O.
Scientists are still scratching their heads a bit on exactly why. It could be related to inflammation, immune interactions, or just how tissues communicate with each other. But while studies clearly show an association, it is incredibly vital to emphasize here, a statistical link does not automatically prove that blood type A causes cancer.
Knowing your blood type is a neat piece of trivia for your biological puzzle, sure. But factors like smoking, drinking alcohol, environmental exposures, and obesity, those have dramatically larger, scientifically proven effects on your actual cancer risk. Your blood group shouldn't change your screening habits or how you think about cancer prevention. It's really just a background detail, an underlying statistical association, definitely not a dominant lifestyle driver.
All right, shifting gears. Let's look at the raw factor explained, the plus or minus.
So you know that little plus or minus attached to your blood type? That comes from an entirely different system called the Rh blood group, and the key marker here is something called the D antigen. Carry the D antigen and congratulations, you're Rh positive. Lack it, and you're Rh negative. Now, unlike the ABO system, which subtly affects everyday proteins like clotting factors, your Rh status becomes exceptionally critical during pregnancy. If an Rh negative mother carries an Rh positive fetus, her immune system might actually view the baby's blood as an intruder and develop antibodies against it. Fortunately, modern medical care is amazing. Doctors monitor this closely and use highly effective preventative treatments to literally stop the problem before it even starts. Time for my favorite part, busting blood type myths. Fiction versus biology. Let's just take a moment to aggressively destroy some of the unscientific nonsense floating around out there about what these letters actually mean. First up, your blood type determines your personality. Yeah, completely false. Being type B doesn't make you a supervillain, and type A doesn't make you a shy introvert. Second, one type is universally healthier. Also false. Every single group has its own unique biological trade-offs. And finally, your blood type predicts exactly what diseases you will get. Absolutely not. As we've seen, your blood type changes biological probabilities slightly. It certainly does not write your medical future.
Bringing it all together now. The biological chain reaction, small dials, and big systems.
So what does this all mean for you? It really comes down to a lifelong chain reaction. Step 1. You inherit a tiny genetic difference deciding your blood group before you're even born. Step 2. That specific antigen influences proteins all throughout your body, like that von Willebrand factor we talked about. Step 3, those proteins subtly alter behaviors, like how easily your blood clots on a random Tuesday. And finally, step 4, those minor daily alterations shift your long-term probability for certain diseases over decades. It's just a perfect, fascinating web of interconnected biology.
So, the next time someone asks for your blood group, you can proudly tell them your letters and your plus or minus. But you'll know that those simple characters are actually secretly turning tiny biological dials behind the scenes every single day. Always remember, your blood type can affect risk, but it does not determine your destiny. And honestly, it leaves you wondering, if a microscopic badge on a single cell can subtly shape your entire life's health map, what other completely ordinary parts of your biology are secretly pulling the strings? I hope you found this explainer as fascinating as I did.